Professor Brian Burdekin, AO, the Honourable Emma McBride, Assistant Minister for Health and Suicide Prevention, Professor Stan Katz, speakers, sponsors, researchers, clinicians, families, and every single one of you that commit your lives to furthering our understanding of, prevention of, and the treatment of mental illness, psychosis, and psychotic disorders. It's 30 years ago this month that as National President of the Australian Medical Association, I addressed the National Press Club of Australia, in which I set out, as I saw it, our vision for healthcare, the key challenges that we faced, and our priorities. And among them was detailing the circumstances of those who live with psychotic disorders, the impact upon them, the families who love them, and the immense difficulty in accessing services and care, of their overrepresentation amongst the homeless, the incarcerated, and people who live with alcohol and drug addictions. 2 weeks later, the then president of the Schizophrenia Fellowship of New South Wales came to see me. And with immense emotion, he said, "Thank you, Dr. Nelson, for speaking up for us. Thank you for saying things that we cannot. Because when we speak up for ourselves, people don't listen. They think we're crazy. But when you speak, when people like you speak, others listen, and it means a lot." In the 3 decades that have followed, whilst we've reduced the toll taken by disease and accident, we've failed to diminish that exacted by despair, mental illness, and psychosis. Why is it that only a minority of people with psychotic disorders have access to evidence-based, multidisciplinary care and treatment? Why is it we live in a country where it's estimated that 17,000 people who are incarcerated live with a mental illness, and yet we have 7,000 beds, inpatient beds, to treat such individuals, including with psychosis? Why is it that all of the innovation, investment, and intellectual energy that has delivered technology to improve healthcare and outcomes in every other area has not been applied to those who suffer with mental illness and psychotic disorders? You know, all of you know, and painfully so, it is because we live in a society that still has a deeply entrenched indifference at best and prejudice against at worst those who live with psychotic disorders, the professionals who treat them, and those who support them. Interestingly, and as you get older, and I have just turned 65, you realise you don't realise what you're learning when you're learning it. And the most significant ideas that challenge and transform your outlook come when you least expect. I've concluded that 2 great paradoxes of life are, firstly, human beings that we are, we have a tendency to take for granted those things in our lives that are most important to us. The magic and vitality of youth, you don't fully appreciate until it is gone forever. Good physical health, emotional resilience, the families who love us give meaning and context and architecture to our lives. To live in a society that gives meaning and purpose to our lives. The second paradox is that the most powerful yet fragile of human emotions is hope. We all have to believe that tomorrow will be better than today, next week better than this, next year will be better than this year. And what most sustains hope is men and women, irrespective of fear or adversity, who reach out in support of one another. All of you, and what you do every single day in support of psychotic disorders, is a reminder, a powerful reminder, of the first, of what is really important in life. And this body of humanity, this conference, those whom you represent and from where you come, is giving effect to and enabling the power of hope. As many of you know, I was the director, privileged to be so, of the Australian War Memorial for 7 years. At the end of the Kokoda Trail in New Guinea, at Isuava, stand 4 granite pillars. Each is inscribed with a single word, etched into that granite. 4 qualities, values, virtues that were seen in those young Australians who defended our vital interests from 1942 to the end of the Second World War. Endurance. You never give up. You keep applying yourself to the cause and to the people to whom you have devoted yourself. Sacrifice. Ultimately, a life of value is one spent in the service of other human beings. Mateship, that expression we use as Australians to describe the spirit that binds us in the face of adversity. And courage. Courage is hard to define, but you know it when you see it, when you feel it. It's a spirit that challenges doubt, imposes will, advances values, and ultimately allows us to break through fear. Moral courage, physical courage. It's also a drive, a determination to do the right thing, a call to duty, and irrespective of failure, fear of failure, or of being hurt or facing adversity in the process. In the end, the power is in the struggle and the idealism upon which it is built. For those that are blind to injustice, deaf to despair, and indifferent to the future, they abandon their idealism and abandon the values that drive every single one of you to do what you do every single day on behalf of people with psychotic disorders. I simply say to you, as I said to the then president of the Schizophrenia Fellowship of New South Wales 30 years ago, if in any way I can help, support, be a voice for you and these Australians who live with psychotic disorders, I am more than happy to do so. Thank you for reminding us of what is the measure of a critical measure of a caring society. It's often said of some people that he or she is a great Australian, a much abused term. But Brian Burdekin, you are a truly great Australian. What you have given to our country, your vision, your determination, your forensic shining a light on those areas of genuine need and desperate circumstances of Australians is something to be deeply, deeply admired, as it is by me. And finally, if you're wondering, the portrait that you see behind me, which hangs on the wall in my London office, which goes everywhere and has done so for nearly 30 years, is that of the late Neville Bonner, Yungra man, first Aboriginal Australian who went to the Australian Parliament as a senator for Queensland in 1971. He goes with me every single day to remind me of what is really important. The liberating power of even a small amount of education, which too often we take for granted, and the transcending everything else in life is character. Thank you, and I wish you well for the conference and everything you do every single day, in spite of the many obstacles that are before you.